Hi everyone, it's Steph and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to show you how you can double the width of your weaving using 2 heddles and 2 pickup sticks. Here you can see the alpaca that I processed in my previous video. I'm adding a few other yarns to this as well. And to calculate how much yarn you're going to need for a double width weave, calculate how much you need for 1 layer, that's warp and weft, and then just double it. Nice and easy, very simple. For this project, you will need 2 heddles of the same size and also 2 pickup sticks that are at least the width of your loom. I will be using 2 7.5 dent reeds or heddles to make a nice wide shawl. I like to call these blanket shawls because you can use them as a blanket over your lap, or you can use them as a shawl. All other equipment is exactly the same as you would use for a normal project. I love these kinds of shawls because they are super snuggly and really long and lovely. To warp up for a double width weave, set up your loom as you would normally and just use 1 heddle, and we're going to double our warp. So pull 2 loops through each slot, giving you 4 threads. So pull 2 loops through each slot, giving you 4 threads through each slot, and continue until you've got the width of the project you want in your reed. Once you've warped up the width that you want, then wind on using whatever method you prefer. Here I'm using my DIY tension device. If you want to know more about that, then I do have a video in my library, so have a look. The next step is to cut or trim all of your ends. I like to trim them so that they're all the same length. I just find it easier to work with that way. Once that's done, pull all your yarn down, smooth it all out, and get ready for the next step, which is threading your first heddle. Now, let's get this first heddle threaded up. You can have the heddle at the front or at the back. At this stage, it doesn't matter, so whatever feels right for you. I have mine at the front. First thing, working left to right, grab your first 4 threads in 1 slot, grab the far right one, and thread it through the hole on the right of the slot. I made this little diagram for you to make it a little bit easier to visualize. In the diagram, I've made all the threads different colours just so it differentiates where each thread goes and makes it a little bit easier to understand, especially when we get to the second heddle. Continue working across the heddle left to right until you get to the very end, ending in a hole. Once you are at the end, that's your first heddle done. If your heddle is at the front, you can now move it into the back position. I like to work in small groups. I just find it a little bit easier. So first we're going to separate the threads in holes in the back heddle from the threads in slots. So you should have a small group of threads that have gone through the holes in the back heddle. Just pop them over the front heddle and throw the others off the back. Then we need to thread this thread through the slot that is slightly to the right of where the corresponding hole is in the front heddle. It's easier to show you this on a diagram. Here you can see where the hole is at the front heddle that matches the hole at the back, and we're going to pop this thread in the slot to the right of that hole. Once you've found the right slot for that first thread, then you can just follow along and put each one in the corresponding slot just to the right of that. So once you've got the first one down, the rest of them can just follow. Now let's thread the slot threads from the back heddle to the front. Once again, I've got a diagram, and you can see that we have 3 threads from the slot in the back heddle. The first thread will go in the slot to the left of where we put the hole thread from the back heddle. The second thread will go into the hole. The third thread will go into the same slot that the hole thread from the back heddle went in. So once you've done that first lot of 4 threads, you should have 1 in a slot, 1 in a hole, 2 in a slot. I think the trickiest thing is just to work out where all the threads go, especially from the back to the front heddle. But once you understand where to put all of your threads, the rest is easy. You can just continue on as you go, working in small groups. If you're worried about that front heddle falling off whilst you're threading it, you can tie your heddles together, but just be aware you do need to get your hand behind that front heddle a little bit. So if you want to tie them together, then probably use rubber bands. That might be a little bit easier. But what I do is once I've got a small group all threaded up, I will tie that on just using 1 knot, and that will secure it so that if the front heddle does fall off, you haven't lost your work. Continue threading in this sequence, threading from the back to the front using step 1 with the slot and step 2 with the other 3 until you get to the end, tying off in small bundles as you go. Once you've finished your threading and tying on, just using the 1 knot, go through and just check for cross threads. These are threads that will catch on another thread in between the 2 heddles. So check fairly carefully, but don't tie off with 2 knots just in case you find one and you need to fix it. Once you're happy there's no crossed threads, then you can go ahead and fix your tension and tie off with that second knot. Now it's time to place our pickup sticks. The first pickup stick is pickup stick A. So you will need to put both your heddles in the down position, and then across the top you want to pick up every second thread. Do this really carefully. Don't accidentally go over 2 and then pick up 1, because that will cause a crossed thread. So very carefully go across, pick up every second thread on your pickup stick. Now it's time for pickup stick B. If you put both of your heddles in the up position, you can see that little narrow shed, which is where we're going to place pickup stick B. But if I go on the other side here and put pickup stick A on edge, it just tightens that narrow shed and makes it a lot easier for you to slide pickup stick B through that little shed. Do this carefully and make sure you don't miss any. A bit of a tip: tie your heddles together with rubber bands or whatever, and then lift up your loom and have a look and see where you've placed that pickup stick B to make sure you haven't missed any threads. Now let's do a quick double check. I'm just going to unpick this little group here so I can show you what everything should look like with both your heddles threaded and also with both pickup sticks in place. If I pull this group of threads tight, you can actually see that there are 4 clear lines of threads. The top 2 lines of threads is your top layer, and that's separated by pickup stick A. The bottom 2 lines of threads is your bottom layer, which is separated by pickup stick B. And the heddles manipulate between the top layer and the bottom layer of weaving. So if I pull out 4 consecutive threads in this group, I can see that one thread goes straight from the slot in the back to the same slot in the front. The next thread goes from the same slot in the back to the hole in the front. The next thread goes from the slot in the back to the slot in the front, that is to the right of the back slot. And then the last thread goes from the hole in the back to the same slot in the front. So now we're ready to weave, but I just wanted to show you how it all works. So we've got pickup stick B. B is for bottom. Pickup stick A, and A is at the top. So that's an easy way of telling pickup stick A and pickup stick B. A is the top, B is for bottom. Then your heddles will stay in neutral when your pickup sticks are in play. Here is the sequence. So the first sequence is heddles are neutral, pickup stick B on edge. The next one is both heddles up. The third one is heddles neutral, pickup stick A on edge. And then the last one is front heddle down, and that's your sequence. I like to write these on little cards so I can keep them for later. And also I make a point of not getting up and walking away from the weaving until I finish a sequence. So that means that when I come back, I know I'm always starting at the top sequence. Just a tip with spreading your warp. If you're going to spread your warp, then use scrap yarn and use the sequence, just so you can get used to it before you use your good yarn. Also, it's a great way of testing to make sure that the threading is correct and the pickup sticks are all in the right place. So the first pick in the sequence is with your pickup stick B, that's the one on the bottom, on edge, and your heddles are neutral to start with. I found this shed a little bit sticky, but it did get better as I went on. Quick tip for tucking your ends in, just make sure you tuck them into the right layer. So I ended up just manually manipulating mine just to make sure that I was tucking the ends into the right layer. When you're not using the pickup sticks, just slide them up to the back of your loom. The second pick in the sequence is the back heddle up, everything else neutral. This pick again was a little bit sticky, but it actually got better as I kept weaving, and I think it was just sticky at the very beginning. Also, just be very careful with your selvage on the left hand side, because that is the very middle of your piece, so you want to make sure that that is not loose but also not tight, so you kind of have to get that in the Goldilocks zone. The third pick in the sequence is pick up stick A, that's the top one on edge, everything else is neutral. The last pick in the sequence is front heddle down, everything else neutral. This was the easiest shed for me to weave throughout the whole weaving the shawl. And that's it. That's the 4 pick sequence, and you just continue that for the whole weave. Every so often, just stop and check and run your hands through the 2 layers of weaving and just make sure that there's no areas that are stuck together. But apart from that, it's quite easy once you understand the threading and understand where the pickup sticks goes. If this is the first time that you'll be trying this, I would suggest that you use cotton because it's less sticky and it's a lot easier to see the sheds. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for supporting me by watching the video, by liking the video, especially if you found it helpful. The more people who watch the videos and the more people who like the videos, the more the algorithm will recommend them to other weavers, which might help them on their weaving journey too. If you haven't already, please subscribe. It is absolutely free. The next video, I'll be showing you the completed product and the start to finish, and I can't wait to show that to you. Thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.